thank you, and thank you so much for agreeing to let me speak. A lot of attention has been focused recently, as you are well aware, on the arts education in Franklin County. And due to a lack of art teachers applying for open positions, some of our schools now have fine arts discovery rather than art or music classes. And the intent of these classes is to incorporate a superficial exposure to art and music along with STEM. But arts integration only works alongside sequential, standards-based learning. We didn't have a shortage of music teachers. 4 people applied for my job that opened due to my retiring at the end of the year. Throughout the process of rebranding our art and music classes at the elementary level, never were our experts, our current art and music teachers, involved in the process. 2 of our best teachers received an email telling them they'd been reassigned for the next year to what at the time was called Discovery Stream. It has since been changed to Fine Arts Discovery. This wasn't due to a teacher shortage, as these schools already had a music and art teacher who are certified and highly qualified in their positions. When students experience the joy of making music themselves in elementary school, they're more likely to participate in our secondary band and choral programs. In a meeting with Dr. Alsop, I was told that what we're teaching at the elementary level isn't as necessary, and we're not looking for certified music and art teachers to fill the jobs as they come open. And they're okay with the negative impact this might have on our, or this will have on our band and choral programs. And that's a very different message than what is being said publicly. The public has responded to these changes, and we very much appreciate the efforts of the board to better understand what's happening in our arts education in our district. A quality arts education is foundational to a well-rounded education as designated in the Elementary and Secondary School Education Act. We know it as ESSA. And it's understood and supported by state and federal policies. The benefits of a quality arts education are real and measurable. A recent study called The State of the Arts in Tennessee revealed the measurable impact arts education has on schools, specifically music education in our neighboring counties of Coffee, Lincoln, Giles, Marion County, and Tullahoma City schools. Franklin County did not participate in the study. However, if those counties are seeing measurable benefits from arts education at early age, then we can assume ours does as well. And you can find the study on the CMA Foundation website or mrhollandsopus.org, and you can see the details in the study. You can see what they found about each county and what decisions came out because of that study. This study resulted in Coffee County adding a music position to alleviate schools that are having to share teachers, like Cowan and Suwannee and Northlake and Broadview do in our district. It was mentioned at the work session that to look at adding full-time music and art teacher at each of our elementary schools, just like Coffee County just did. That would go a long way in our district being able to achieve the benefits outlined in this study. And this handout I gave you kind of has some of the findings in that study, not all of them. And I do encourage you, if you're interested, to go and dig down into the details of this study. Also mentioned in the work session was a desire for solutions. We feel we have solutions to offer. When I say we, I'm referring to a new organization, an arts education advocacy organization in our community. We are being backed by Arts Ed Tennessee, by the CMA Foundation, and by mrhollandsopus.org. They're providing support for us to start our own advocacy program right here in Franklin County. It's our mission, or we're going to call it Arts Ed Matters FC. And it's our mission to provide support to our music and art teachers and principals not previously offered in our district. I listened to the principals communicate issues they were having at the work session, and we can respond to that. We will provide professional development for certified music and art teachers, mentor new or struggling teachers to help them become highly effective in the classroom, find and apply for grants to support arts education, and actively recruit for open art and music positions. It's our mission to advocate for every school to have a certified music and art teacher teaching a standards-based music and art education, not fine arts discovery. Every student in Franklin County should have equal access to a quality, standard-based music and art education. It shouldn't depend on where they go to school.
Diane, your time's about up.
Oh, I'm done.
Wrap up.
Okay, yes, ma'am. We want to work with the school system to achieve these goals. We must have open communication for this to happen, though. Dr. Holman and the Board of Education, I hope you'll let us work with you to find a creative and long-lasting solutions to the issues our principals are facing, and to continue to offer sequential standard-based music and art education all of our elementary schools. And I will say we did recruit and fill the position at Broadview with a dual certified music and art teacher.
Thank you.
That's a very positive. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can we get an update on where we need music and art?
Dr. Alford?
I think we still have a position open at North Lake and Cowan.
A position for music, art, or both?
It's the position is the Fine Arts Discovery position.
So after our meeting, was there any further discussion of making it art and music separately as they?
We changed the posting.
Didn't see that.
But, it's
The person who will be filling the position at Swanee, is that person certified?
in art.
Will she be expected to teach music there?
Yes.
And she doesn't have a music background. Because, yeah, like when they were hiring her, we still had Rebecca Vandeven as the music teacher. So she was hired to fill Penny Payne's position, which was strictly art. And we had music. And then as this hiring was happening, then, as Johnny Ann pointed out, like there wasn't an issue with the teachers there. And then this was changed and the new system was put in place to have one at each school. And so
Those two teachers then would have been shared between Cowan and Swanee, is that
they
correct?
could
So that
continue
would
the way it
be a
had been.
certified art teacher or instructor and a certified music teacher. And then when the description of the position was changed, is that when there was an issue? Help me understand that. Or was it because the art teacher asked for a transfer?
In all fairness, this is not on the agenda. She asked for an update, which he gave her. So, if you want to bring it back on the agenda some other time, that's fine.
We will.
Okay, that's fine.
Can I ask to explain? Music is at Broadview, and they said,
Exactly what she was.
so she will teach art,
She was
and so
certified.
she's certified.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all I
That's
All right, that brings us to item D, which is public input, and checking with Renee, we did not have anyone sign up for that. Item E is approval of the agenda. Board members, please take a look at the agenda. If there's any questions, if not, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Williams and a second by Ms. Schwartz to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. That brings us to item F, which is approval of the consent agenda. That has our board meeting minutes and our work session for May. There's also a couple of field trips on there, both of which had proper documentation.
I have a couple of things about the minutes. So one is that the Swanee teacher, it says Harley Sanchez, but she's Haley Sanchez. So,
Renee, you want to make a note of that and then change it? Thank you.
and then also, I wondered if we should put the YouTube links for our recordings in our minutes.
Well, is that not already up on Word Docs?
As far as I know, the links.
You're talking about the links for our meeting?
So I'm wondering if it would make sense to have a link for the
We
YouTube
can do
session for the meeting in our minutes.
It's the link to YouTube so that anybody wants to go back and watch the session, they can.
And then also, so like John Ann spoke this week and we had 2 people last week and it just says that they spoke. But it seems like it would make sense to have like a line or something about what the people had to say because it's a record of events.
You can go back to the agenda and pull that. I'm sorry. Go back to the agenda and pull whoever spoke to us at the last meeting, and it has on there. I think you'll be able to tell what we're talking about. And if not, listen to, you can look at it on, or you can listen to the recording that she does. Miss Patty's out now, so everybody's sitting in for her. We appreciate her doing that. Also, Dr. Holland has had a conference, so he's not with us tonight either. Okay, back to the consent agenda approval with the corrections being made to the minutes and the field trips.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
We've got a motion to approve the consent agenda by Mr. Williams, a second by Mr. Cole. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries as well. That takes us to the director's report, and Dr. Austin is sitting in tonight. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. The first item is recognizing some of our students that went to the SCOPE conference. And SCOPE stands for Student Congress on Policies and Education. It was held at Belmont University. That's where high school students across the state gather to discuss topics in education. They were able to participate in a mock board meeting and some group discussions. So at this time, I would like Wayne Medley from Franklin County High School, if he's here, Olivia Rigsby from Hunland, and Grant Morris from Hunland. If you're here, over here, not sure. Okay. Get those certificates to you. Our industry spotlight this month is Nissan, so we have Mr. Jimmy Stovall from Nissan. And I'm going to ask him to talk a little bit about the new Centers of Excellence program that we're getting ready to start at Franklin County High School. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your share.
So yeah, real quick, thank you for this. Appreciate it. It's I view our relationship with Nissan. With Nissan and the education system as a symbiotic relationship, and that's evidenced by the Centers of Excellence. That is a new concept that we're serving as the pilot. Franklin County and 3 other schools around the area are serving as a pilot for the greater Nissan, and that's essentially taking the Nissan employee and putting them in the schools to help develop and deliver curriculum for our local students, to ensure they're successful going back out into manufacturing or back out into industry. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The department spotlight this month is our nutrition department. So Ms. Vonda Bradford.
Good evening. I just want to share some of our final numbers this year. Our lunches served this year were 567,179. That gives us an average daily participation of 3,336. Our breakfast number was 369,370 with an average daily participation of 2,173. Our after-school snacks were 17,918. We will continue 10 schools on our CEP program this next school year. Hopefully those numbers will rise, and on April 1st we will pull to see how many more we will continue with. If it becomes an issue with my program and the revenue of my program, then we will have to look closely at that. That's all I have for you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for feeding our kids.
And our school spotlight this month is South Middle School, Dr. Burger.
I asked Mr. Dawson to be here with me tonight for moral support, so he said as long as he didn't have to talk. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about some things that happened at South this last year. With it being summer, of course, I have several of my teachers were out of town, so could not be here tonight. But one of our goals this year was for our teachers to find grants and apply for them, and hopefully receive them. And we were fortunate enough that we had 7 grants given to us this year that were applied for, and they were from the Education Foundation, Franklin County, and TVA. So I wanted to just highlight what we did with these grants. Miss Chelsea Hall was our STEM teacher. She received 2 grants for aquaponics. She received $750 from the Franklin County Education Foundation, and she received $5,000 from TVA. And you can see pictures of what she did with it. She has a fish tank and then her growing system where she was growing herbs. I told her I was going to come and get some of her herbs when I wanted to cook. So pretty neat. The students in the pictures are ones that have helped her basically put things together and kind of maintain the fish tank and the growing system. And some of the things that she highlights for her with the aquaponics is it studies basic science, biology, chemistry, math, teaches sustainable food production methods, and it's also good for research projects. So she's using that to incorporate all those things with that program. We also had Miss Steekley. She received $1,000 for art supplies. We do not get a large amount of art money, so she used this to incorporate her Alice in Wonderland paintings with the students, and all of those were done freehand from our students. So they enjoyed getting to paint. I even went in there and painted a little bit with them, but mine is not up there, so I'm not as crafty.
Dr. Brewer,
Yes.
that one was also from the Educational Foundation.
Oh, yes, ma'am, it was. Correct. I'm sorry she didn't have that on her slide, but yes, correct, it was. Also, Miss Andrews, and I believe this was another Education Foundation, she received a photography enrichment grant, and her vision for this grant is to host a photography class, either an after-school program, or we've talked about incorporating it during our study hall time in the afternoons, where students will learn to use their own cameras and their smartphones and their cameras to become aware of and appreciate the environment and nature around them. They'll be meeting once a week. We started a little bit this past year, but we really hope to incorporate more. We purchased a poster printer with the money so that the students can then come back, and you'll see that's a picture from Timms Ford Lake where they'll learn to incorporate words with pictures, and we are going to put photos around our school, so, and posters that the students will put together, so inspirational things. The next was another grant from the Ed Foundation, and it was Miss Blosser. She received $670, and she used this in her 6th grade for multiple interactive projects throughout the year. You'll notice she did Roman aqueducts. The students learned about the ancient Israelites and learned how to play dreidels. Dreidels. Okay, that was new for me. I must have slept during that. That was pretty interesting. They also wrote in cuneiform writing on clay tablets. They really enjoyed that. And again, the aqueducts. They also learned about silkworms and got to actually see how silk is made and where it comes from. And then for Greek mythology, each student became an expert on one god or goddess, and you'll see they created drawings of that god or goddess. The next project we did was we used our courtyard in our school and made a garden. It's a sensory garden. You'll see pictures of students. I had them out there mulching and weeding, and we bought benches for students to go out. We are going to make this more of an area where teachers can take their kids out there for classes. And they now have some places to sit. We got more tables also through our ISM grant. But there's also the rock garden where students painted rocks. I did paint rocks. My rocks are actually in the picture because I couldn't do that part. But they have wind spinners out there. They got some plants that are, is it lamb's ear, I think, where the kids can actually feel, you know, and different things. And then they are looking to actually put possibly a hammock out there for the students. And we're really trying to utilize that space because we have not been using it very much. So my husband is thrilled because he gets to come and mow it even more often now. So, so we have one more, sorry. Beautification grant. Miss Saylor received that, and it was $500. And with that, she had wings made, butterfly wings, create a space for the students to gather, socialize, take pictures. It symbolizes spiritual rebirth, hope, life transformation, and change. We've noticed a lot of our visitors are going there and taking pictures with the wings also. She's also using that money to do inspirational vinyl quotes for our walls. We're starting in the bathrooms to put inspirational things. And those are just some examples that she's added. So just put a little bit more color and positivity in our school. So the next one is our instrument grant. So we had Miss McGee received a $2,500 grant from the Education Foundation. And 2 instruments were purchased. They purchased a French horn. The French horn that we had was not good. Let's just say it was not good. So we have purchased a French horn. And she also purchased a 3/4 size tuba. As you can see in the picture, the next picture please, is we had a 6th grader and the tuba we had was bigger than she was. So we got a tuba that was much more fitted for her, and it's also brought a lot more, the students are much more fond of, you know, coming to class because now they have an instrument that they can play. So anyway, but we're very excited about our teachers and what they did this last year and all the fun things that are going on at South. So that's all I've got. Thank y'all.
Okay, and the last thing is the June personnel report. Very active in the office this past month and will be throughout the summer. We still have 27 positions open. 12 are classified. 12 are classified, 13 certified. 3 of those positions are continuously open. We have put our substitute teachers on our website, and we've had some really good success getting additional subs. We have a sub nurse that's going to stay posted, and the educational assistants. We need those posted. We have 2 positions that are coaching positions that are supplement only, not any teaching positions associated with that. And then finally, I wanted to mention that we were able to hire 25 of our employees to work as custodians in the month of June, and I've dispersed those in the various schools, and I think that has been a big help to our custodial staff. And that's all I have.
On that, I know we had talked originally about that being for like graduating students. Did we have any graduating students apply for that?
We did not, and actually we didn't advertise it for our graduating students. We just advertised it for our current employees.
Okay.
And that we pay for that with some leftover money from our custodial budget because we had a lot of vacancies throughout the year, so there was quite a bit of money left in that account. So it's not new money,
It was only like 19 days, I believe.
something like that.
Yeah.
Ms. Walker, may I add a postscript? Just so the audience knows, the Educational Foundation for Excellence actually granted 32 grants this year. So we love all that we were able to do at South, but know that the money was spread throughout the system as we receive requests.
And we sure appreciate you all, that's for sure.
Well, 32.
I had a question. So we had to let a bunch of aides go. We knew that with the ESSER money it ran out, and I think there was talk of how, depending on what happened with TCAP and the numbers and who needs tutoring, we'd see. Do we have any idea of how many more aides we will still need, or is it going to depend on summer school?
We do not have that information yet. We weren't anticipating knowing that until July anyways.
Okay.
Because the final figures are not going to be until the TISA.
Thank you.
All righty, thank you, Dr. Austin. Takes us to item H, Ms. Sarah, that's the legislative update.
So, in general, it's relatively quiet because the General Assembly's out and won't reconvene until January. And as I talked about last time, the Education Freedom Scholarship Act is still on hold, but Chalkbeat had an interesting article, and it's here, but I'll share anyhow, because sometimes it's just easier to listen. So in Indiana, their voucher program is growing, and they raised the limit for how much people could make to be a part of this. And so last year it cost the state $311 million. This year it cost Indiana roughly $439 million. And this was from the article. It said the average voucher student in Indiana is a white elementary-aged girl who lives in a metropolitan area and comes from a household of around 4.7 people, making around $100,000 according to the report. And the majority of choice scholarship students have never attended a public school. And so this is just kind of what we talked about, how vouchers or scholarships, as they're talking here, really aren't making the change that they claim that they want to make, and it just instead is costing the state a lot of money while hurting the public schools. The next one is something that somehow I missed, but there is a new public chapter, 782. I'm going to take a moment and read this one to you. So, there have been a lot of changes to what's happening in libraries, a lot fewer books that are allowed, and this further tamps that down. It says, materials in a library collection must be suitable for the age and maturity levels of the students who may access the materials and must be suitable for and consistent with the educational mission of the school. B, for purposes of this section, a material that, 1, in whole or in part contains nudity or descriptions or depictions of sexual excitement, sexual conduct, excess violence, or sadomasochistic abuse, as those terms are defined in 39-17-901, is not appropriate for the age or maturity level of a student in any of the grades kindergarten. I mean, we could probably safely assume that we might all agree with that. In kindergarten through 12, and must not be maintained in the school's library collection. Or 2, is patently offensive, as defined in 39-17-901 again, or appeals to the prurient interest, as defined in the same thing, and is not appropriate for the age or maturity level of a student in any of the grades, kindergarten through 12, and must not be maintained in a school's library collection. Additionally, Chalkbeat further reports that Governor Lee and the legislature have budgeted $500,000 for the textbook commission to, plus another $55,000 for operational expenses to help manage the expansion of their mandate. It says, a second law directs the Tennessee Textbook and Instructional Materials Quality Commission to rule on appeals of local decisions about individual books and gives the panel authority to ban them statewide. And then my last bit there is that the textbook commission is composed of people appointed by the governor, lieutenant governor, speaker of the Senate, and the speaker of the House. As a former high school English teacher myself, thinking not only of what I read when I was in high school and the books that I taught of literary merit, which may have contained nudity or violence, and you read about war or love in great literary works. I just wanted to make sure that others knew about this And then finally, fourth grade retention, as we talked about this last time, it hadn't been signed into law by the governor. Now it has been, so it is official. There's a link here, and so if you, under the other updates, so if you want to look at other new laws that relate to education, TSBA has linked them there, so you could see whatever longer list is posted. And just kind of for our board, if we are interested in having any resolutions that we would like to see in new laws, TSBA wants those, I forget, either by August or September, but we have time. So think about it. I know at least one school district is going to, again, try to pass the one for the preschools like we have at Cowan and at least one other school for funding for that. But other issues that we might feel strongly about, I'll try to make space for that in our next meeting.
And those resolutions would be taken up in November at the state meeting.
They would be legislative things. So again, if anything on this list appeals to your interests and is of concern, please contact your legislators.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. That takes us to item I, financial reports. Jenny, all we have is budget amendments, and they look like they're just pretty much clean up and moving.
They are. I don't have a lot. I have a little bit of information. These are all just cleanup amendments. The summer camp, you guys approved that last month, but it had to go back to E-Plan for some just wording updates. So I'm passing it back through just to cover us, to make sure we go through the proper process.
And we will need to approve this because it is going to
Correct.
commission.
Yes.
Motion to approve June 2024 GP budget amendment.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Williams and a second by Ms. Schultz to approve the June 2024 budget amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. That takes us to new business. First item there is approval for CTE to accept 2 Nissan vehicles for the FCHS automotive class. Suzette, do you want to speak to that, or?
To my knowledge, it's going to be 2 Pathfinders. We have checked with finance and Heather Morgan, and so once the vehicles get here and we know a little bit more about them, we'll check into the insurance on that to see what we need. They are not allowed to be driven on the road at all. So there's some wording, and we have checked with insurance on that.
We appreciate Nissan, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
We didn't need to approve this.
Because it says their value is 0, so are these cars that have been like,
They're for instructional purposes, they're not.
They're not on the road.
so they're not like wrecked cars, they're
No.
okay.
They're what we would call shells.
Yeah. They're not going to be driven.
Motion to approve the CTE donation from Nissan for 2 vehicles.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second by Ms. Leakey. The motion is by Mr. Williams to approve the CTE accept 2 vehicles from Nissan for the automotive class. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. That takes us to item 2, Ms. Crabtree. Would you like to come and speak, please?
Yes, ma'am. I think I've mentioned this once before, but we had talked about trying to work out a soccer field for Huntland Soccer, which has been up in the air for 6 or 7 years or more. I have been to Huntland City and met with the city board there, and they are very willing for us to use a piece of property directly behind Citizens Bank in Huntland, which is used a lot by the city for gospel singings and such. I think 3 or 4 times a year they have a concert, and maybe use it 4th of July for parking for the tractor pull. They are more than willing to work with us if the Board of Education is willing to work with us and them in coming together with a lease of some sort or a mutual agreement of some sort. I have consulted with Jenny, who's been talking with insurance and risk management on that end. There is no money. They are not going to charge us for the use of this field. We have agreed to maintain mowing, which helps the city. And we have been talking about some mutual things that each of us will do to help the other, which will only improve their usage of that field as well as our usage. Did measure it off today. Took the football coaches who are used to squaring a field, and we went down and spray painted off. It will fit where we thought it would. There may be some dirt moved, shouldn't be a whole lot, but we're looking toward moving in that direction and would like to request permission from the board to proceed. It will take a legal document between the school attorney and the City of Huntland attorney. Huntland is totally anticipating that and actually requesting that. So I'd like to be able to move forward with that if we could.
And Lisa, you are talking about a regulation size field.
Yes, sir.
That would allow them to have games, hold tournaments, whatever they needed to do.
Yes, sir. And as we start here, we're looking at probably putting maybe a 4-foot chain link fence on the College Street end just for help to keep children maybe from darting out in the road during game time. We would not be looking at any concession or anything like that being built at this time. Park is right there. We've had several schools in our league use porta potties and pull up food trucks. Have food trucks come just to be concessions for the games, and so we've kind of worked that out as well. So just kind of getting down to who's liable when, those sorts of issues.
How close is that to the park?
Across the street.
Across the street.
Directly across the back street. That's College Street that will run between the Blue Cross Park and this field. That would be why I want to put that fencing just to be safe that somebody doesn't dart out in the road there during that time period.
Enough room on this field for spectators?
Yes, ma'am. We have bleachers that go with the music concerts that we would be able to turn around for spectators. We would use the, what would you call it, the grandstand. We would use the grandstand that they use for concerts as our kind of scores table type area. Players would be on the field side next to the fire hall. It is regulation. If we were able to do a tournament, we would probably rent lights, portable lights, which will come out until we're able to do something else. But we would be able to host tournaments if we qualify for those using that.
And we did set aside 30 or 35,000 for this facility.
Yes, sir.
Several years ago.
That was something I was wanting to double check how much money we're talking. We have a little bit in the account there at Huntland School that they'd raised, not very much, but I knew there was a line item.
Yeah, it was a line item in our budget. It was 30 or 35.
And so right now you can't have home games?
We have them on the baseball field in the outfield, and it is not a regulation size field, so we cannot host tournament games. With this, we would have our own field, which very likely could add a boys soccer experience if we had enough boys interested in the spring, because it would get us off the baseball field, and it would allow both teams to be able to host tournaments if we were to qualify.
And the girls have been very successful.
The girls would, yes, they have been. We've been to the state tournament several times.
And this will add no liability to the Board of Education because the City of Huntland cannot put any liability off on us because they own the property. So essentially, the only thing we're responsible for are athletes, which are already covered under our liability policies anyway. Now, obviously, if something were to occur and the school was responsible for causing damage to the field, we would pay for that. But as far as liability goes, it will not change our liability. It also will not change the City of Huntland's liability because they already pay liability on that piece of property, which is why we're willing to sign the agreement. But we would have to get the legal verbiage down as far as when it can be used and by who.
And so what about things like porta potties? So there aren't bathroom facilities there?
Not at the field, but there are right across the street in the park. So if they didn't want to use something portable that's very close and convenient, they could walk across to the park and use those facilities.
If approved, how soon would you be able to use it? Would it this coming season?
I want to be able to use it in August, if not the 1st of August, maybe by the 1st of September, so we can get on that field this year.
I remember the park. I don't remember that piece. Is it pretty level, or has it got to have a lot of work done?
Okay, we shot that today also. I borrowed my FFA gentleman, and they shot that for me. We have about a 2.5-foot drop from the back of the bank. It comes up to the lower part of that bank. It does not go into the bank or up the hill. We can fit it beneath that. There's about 2.5 feet from there down to the park side of the road. The side with the grandstand, there's about a 2-foot drop. So in just being able to sweep some dirt or move some dirt from that upper corner down, it should level out pretty well. Any potholes, it seemed pretty level walking it, but we would have to have a group go step by step to ensure anything of that nature. Yes, sir. What's that?
I've seen worse soccer fields.
I'm telling you, that's what I said. In single A sports, I've seen worse. I've seen worse football fields, I'll tell
And I
you.
have talked to Kent Bain as well, and all he needs is one corner, and he can go set the robot down and hit the buttons, and it will line it off,
Mhm.
regulation size as well.
So that's where we are.
So is this something we need a motion?
Yes, we do.
I'll approve a motion to enter into MOU with the city of Holland for this soccer field.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Williams, a second by Ms. Leakey. Can we go forward with an MOU with the city?
Thank you, ma'am.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
I'd
carries.
like to update you on the baseball and softball facility. The stamped blueprint plans arrived this morning, and the product will arrive next week, and we'll start putting that together. So should be soon. Thank you.
Thank
How
you.
about the scoreboard?
Sir?
The scoreboard.
The scoreboard arrived right before graduation, and it was mounted the first of last week, and we're just needing Mr. Hargrove to come and electrically hook it up. Looks great. Looks great. I'll get a picture for you. How about that? Good deal. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Mhm.
Thank you. And item 3 on new business is the school fees. You can see them there,
Extensive.
extensive, a long list.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So one, I guess I just wanted to check because for band for the high school, I think I've had the previous band director. So I just sort of wanted to double check and be like, oh, is this okay? Like that sort of fits new band director's needs too. Okay. And then also, so Huntland's marching band also said transportation, and then PE at the high school said, you know, that they don't get a lot of money for PE and supplies. And I guess I was just sort of wondering in terms of like band and PE and art for that matter, like sort of how much teachers get to spend on those programs.
I have no idea.
$200.
$200 it says.
Okay, wait, so like every teacher in the district gets 200, and that also holds true for PE?
Yeah. PE, music, library, and art.
So I have a question about some of these
Is
things.
so like art,
Then we get $200.
so PE gets 200.
$200.
For every child. It's just one lump sum.
No year.
No, for
Each
every
teacher.
child.
Each
Each
teacher,
teacher, each art
But
teacher,
that's
each
for their whole
music
program.
teacher.
$200 a year.
For their program.
That seems like not enough.
It never is.
That might be as a slight understatement.
Well,
I'm
that
sorry.
goes into their account, and then they can requisition through central office as well.
I would even thinking about something like. I think I think we should revisit this conversation because that does not seem like enough for things like PE where you're gonna need some supplies or art or music.
And I think we touched on it at the work session when we met. But my question specifically, when I look at both the fees at both schools for band, $75 at Franklin County and $60 at Huntland. What is the plan B if a child can't produce it, they don't pay?
They get a waiver.
They do. They get a waiver.
Are they aware of that?
I think that goes for all fees, doesn't it?
It goes for all things,
Yes.
not just band. Any other discussion?
And these fees then go, cosmetology, because it's at the top, near the top. The $20 fee will go into an account for that teacher.
Yes, and they have to spend it that school year. It's for consumable supplies.
And it's hard when it's consumable. You know, we need some for
Right.
consumables.
something they can use it on their duties or thing.
Appropriately or whatever.
Yeah, but it's always for consumables, so that doesn't always help.
So when you say a waiver, then that particular teacher's account does not get any additional, I mean, if she has 10 teachers, 10 students, and each student pays the $20, then she has $200, but if she has 25 students, she still only has $200. When you waive it, you don't supplement it. It's not supplemented in a way.
At one point in time, I'm thinking that there were funds from the county.
It was at one point,
I
if
think
you had
so.
25 children, you got 25, if you had, as opposed to 20 to 25, then you would have, if you had 25, you'd get more money than the teacher that had 20
Right.
students.
And
But
we-
I don't think it's that way anymore.
This last year, we did get a board allocation, and it was, some of it was specified how you were to use it, but then some of it was up to the discretion of the building principal.
That's right.
You know, I tried to buy some big items that teachers might need, like, you know, we're trying to supplement some of the technology in our yearbook room and those kinds of things, which are, you know, pricey, and they can't, you know, $200 is not going to cut it. So. We also put together like a consumable supplies closet where teachers needed like pens, paper clips, those kinds of things that $200 you're not supposed to use on those things.
I think sometimes too, that money was taken and used for library.
Right, a lot of it is allocated specifically for the library.
Well, the library has a slightly different funding thing, right? Because it's like there's an amount for students, although it went up sometime in the last 5 years. I don't remember.
It's the board allocation we're talking about.
Motion to approve the 24-25 school fees for FCHS and all.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Williams. We have a second.
Second.
Second from Ms. Jones. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. That motion carries as well. You can take a look at the schedule of meetings at the bottom. I guess one that we should know is the commission meeting. Jenny, will the full budget be ready for commission?
Yes, they did approve the budget minus the $308,000 additional funding, but everything else passed. As of right now, we do not foresee any issues, so we should have a June budget next Monday.
So it would probably behoove us to go to the meeting in June. That is the 17th.
And that is with a 3% raise across the board. That is teachers and support staff. I've heard, you know, a lot of people are thinking that it's just teachers that are getting that raise. So just put that out there.
And the bus
across the
drivers are
board.
getting
And the bus drivers are
base
not,
raises.
they're not employees, so they're not with that 3% across the board. They're contracted services. But it was agreed upon that they are getting $5,000 on their base pay.
Anything else?
Ms. Walker,
Yes, ma'am.
we will have our student board member in August, but I wanted to recognize her tonight. She is here observing. So Katie Hanger will be our student board member in August, but she did volunteer to come and observe tonight. So I want to welcome Katie to our board.
Welcome. Yes, ma'am. Look forward to seeing you. Anything else? Ms. Leakey?
Motion to adjourn?